Hi everyone, it's that time of day again. It's Nana story time, and as promised, I'm going to read you the story of Rumpelstiltskin. So if you're sitting comfortably and snugly, then I will begin. The story of Rumpelstiltskin. Once upon a time, there lived a miller and his wife. They had one daughter who was so clever and so beautiful that her father and mother were always boasting about her. They not only boasted about the things she could do, but about the things she couldn't do. And one day, when the miller went to see the king, he began telling him of the marvellous things his daughter had done. "Your Majesty," he said, you have no idea how clever my daughter is. Last year she spun straw into silver. Yes, silver. And this year she's going to spin it into gold." "What?" cried the king in astonishment. "Spin straw into gold? Impossible!" Like all boasters, the miller could not bear to have his story disbelieved. "I assure you, your Majesty," he said, "my words are true. My clever and beautiful daughter is going to spin all my straw into gold for me, and I shall be a rich man." The king listened and wondered. "Miller," he said, "such a marvel I have never seen in my life. You must send your daughter to my palace and tell her I want to see her do this thing of which you tell me. I have plenty of straw that I should dearly like spun into gold." The miller began to feel frightened. He knew quite well, clever as his daughter was, she certainly could not spin straw into gold. And he began to make excuses and to say his daughter could not come. "I'll cut off your head if you don't send her tomorrow," said the king, who was quite determined that if there was any gold about, he was going to get a good share of it. The miller groaned loudly, bowed and left the palace. He ran home and told his wife all about it. "You foolish man," she scolded. "Now we shall lose our heads because of your silly tale." "You're as bad as I am," he grumbled. "I heard you tell the neighbours that our girl was clever enough to spin straw into gold, and I told the king. What are we to do?" "We must send our daughter to the palace," said the miller's wife, "and hope that because of her beauty the king will forgive her for not being able to do as you say." So the next day the miller's daughter was hurried to the palace. She was most astonished, for neither her father nor her mother told her why. They left her with the king, who took her by the hand to a large bare room filled with straw. "And now, my pretty one," he said, "you must spin all this straw into gold for me. Tomorrow morning I shall come back to you, and if you have not done as I commanded, I shall have your lovely head cut off." With that he went out of the room and locked the door. The young girl sat there in greatest astonishment. "Spin straw into gold?" she said to herself. "Why, who ever heard of such a thing? No one can do that. Whatever does the king mean?" She sat and thought for some time, and then she began to weep bitterly. "I don't want to have my head cut off," she sobbed. "It isn't fair to expect me to do an impossible thing." She wept all morning and made her pretty eyes red. Just as she was wondering if anyone was going to bring her any dinner, she heard a noise at the window. She looked up. In hopped the funniest little creature with a long black tail that kept swirling in and out and round and round. Now," said the creature, "what's all this crying about? Tell me what is the matter, and maybe I can help." "Oh, sir," wept the girl, "the king has shut me up here and told me to spin all this straw into gold. If I haven't finished it by tomorrow morning, I shall have my head cut off." "Dear, dear, dear," said the creature, swirling his tail in and out. "What a to-do, to be sure. Now, what will you give me if I do your task for you and spin all this straw into gold?" "Oh, I will give you this lovely necklace of mine," said the young girl. The little creature sat down at the spinning wheel and began to spin. The young girl watched him in amazement, for the straw went whirring through his fingers and it changed into shining threads of gold. Soon great piles of gold lay where the straw had been, and before night came, every piece had been changed into pure gold. At last the little man jumped up, took the girl's necklace and said goodbye. He swirled his black tail 3 times and jumped straight out the window. The young girl went to sleep with an easy mind and was awakened by the king coming into the room to see what she had done the day before. When he saw all the straw gone and gold heaped up all around, he was too astonished to speak. He stood there with his mouth open and stared. "This is good, very good," he thought. "I will have more of this." So after he had given the miller's daughter a good breakfast and took her to a bigger room, there was twice as much straw as before. "Now, my pretty one, turn all of this into gold for me," he said, "and if not, I'll have your head cut off." The young girl could hardly believe her ears. Turn all this straw into gold too? Oh dear, what bad luck had come to her. She sat down at the spinning wheel, weeping bitterly, and tried to do as the little creature had done yesterday, but the straw remained straw, and no gold came out. Suddenly, at the window hopped the tiny creature again, swirling his tail even more quickly than before. "Stop crying," he said. "I'll do it all for you if you give me your diamond ring." The girl dried her eyes at once and joyfully watched the little man spinning the straw into gold. Whir, whir, whir went the wheel, and soon the piles of gold thread lay on the floor, but the young girl could not see for the life of her how it was done. When night came, the creature took her diamond ring, said goodbye, and jumped out of the window with the last twirl of his tail. The king was delighted the next morning to see the room filled with shining gold. "You are certainly a wonderfully clever little maiden," he told the miller's daughter. "Now come with me to yet a bigger room. If you can spin all of this straw into gold, I will marry you and make you my queen." He took the girl into a huge room filled with piles of straw, and there he left her. He was most pleased with all the gold he had, and thought that search how he might, he would surely never be able to find a cleverer or lovelier girl than the miller's daughter. It would be so very useful to have a wife who could spin him gold whenever he wanted it. No sooner had the king gone than the little creature hopped in the window again, swirling his tail around. "What can you give me this time if I spin straw into gold?" he asked. "I haven't anything more I can give you," said the maiden sadly. "I shan't do it for nothing," said the little man. "I know. You must make me a promise." "What shall I promise?" asked the maiden. "Promise me," said the creature, "that when you are queen and you have a little baby born to you, you will give it to me." The miller's daughter promised, for she didn't think for one moment that the king meant to marry her, so she thought she would be quite safe. The little creature set to work and soon finished spinning all the straw. Then he said goodbye and went, and the last thing the girl saw of him was a twirl of his tail. Now the king was so delighted with this third lot of gold that he kept his word, and much to her delight, married the miller's daughter. She made a good queen, and was overjoyed when a little baby boy was born to her. She was hugging him close one day, when who should hop into the room but the little creature again. "What have you come for?" asked the queen in fright. "Have you forgotten your promise?" asked the little man, twirling his tail. "I want your baby." Oh, cried the queen, suddenly remembering her promise she had made. "No, little creature, no, I cannot give you my darling baby. Ask me anything else but that." The little man grinned and twirled his tail even more quickly. "I'll give you a chance," he said. "Find out in 3 days what my name is, and you shall keep your baby." Then off he hopped. The queen thought of all the names she knew, and when next the little creature came, she told him them. "Is it Arthur, or John, or Peter, Paul, or William, or James?" she asked, but no matter what name she came up with, the creature laughed and shook his head. Next day the queen sent messengers all over the kingdom to collect the strangest names there were, for surely, she thought, such a peculiar creature must have a peculiar name. "Is your name Spindle-legs, Squinty, Roll-around?" she asked. "Is it Twisty-tail, Bandy-shanks, or Crooked-nose?" "No, no, no," shouted the little creature, twirling his tail fast. "Tomorrow I will have your baby." The poor queen sent messengers out once more, but alas, they could find no more strange names. One, however, had a strange story to tell. "I was in a dark forest," he said, "when I suddenly heard a noise of singing. I crept up to see who it was, and a little creature amongst the trees I saw a tiny red-roofed cottage. In front of it danced the oddest little creature with a long black tail, and twirled it in and out and around and around. On his head was a tray of new baked loaves, and they all bounced up and down as he danced. And the song he sang was this: "Today I brew, tonight I bake, tomorrow the queen's child I shall take. For guess as she will, she never will now. She never will know that my name is Rumpelstiltskin. Oh, the Queen listened eagerly, for she knew quite well who the little black-tailed creature was. When the next day came, she saw that he had bought a basket to take her baby away in. Well, do you know my name? He asked. Is it Hugh? She asked, pretending not to know. No, it is not, shouted the little creature, twirling his tail. It's Joseph, then. No, it's not, shouted the tiny man, twirling his tail so fast that he really couldn't be seen. Is it Charles? Asked the Queen, sadly, as if she could think of no more names. No, it is not, shouted the creature, and jumped to get the baby, but the Queen held him off. Then it must be Rumpelstiltskin, she cried. Oh, 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 screamed the little man in rage. The witches have told you. Yes, they have. He stamped on the ground and twirled his tail so hard it came right off and lay on the floor. He picked it up, popped it into the basket, and jumped clean out of the window. And that was the last time the Queen ever heard of him, though it is said that he still goes round trying to find someone to sew his tail on again for him. Rumpelstiltskin. Who would have thought of that name? Nobody ever. It's a good job somebody saw him in the woods, isn't it? So I enjoyed reading you that, and I hope you enjoyed it. So sleep well. I love you loads and loads, and I will see you again tomorrow. And let's have a look. Tomorrow is called The Land of Golden Things. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? So I love you loads, Atty, and I love you loads, Torben. I love you loads, Ruby, and I love you loads, Max. Be good, and I'll see you tomorrow.